So let's try to understand how we will implement this error logging and retry mechanism into the existing process. So this is the flow diagram. So whenever we are able to successfully fetch the details through API, the HTTP response will be 200 and we will store into books table. But if there is any failure like other HTTP codes like HTTP 400, 500, so we will give a retry. So why we give this retry is like if there is a heavy load on the server where we are trying to access that web page, probably we sometimes receive like please try after some time accessing this website, such kind of message on our screen. So we what we generally do in such case, we give a retry because it is not a complete failure. We will give a retry for 2 3 times and wait for every 10 seconds before giving a retry. If this continues again giving the same error, then in that case we will log it. So in our case, we will try for 2 times, but if it is greater than 2, then we will log the error. Else again we will route to this book details API with the same input and again check if we are able to fetch the data or not. As part of our error logging, we had created a table in Oracle named as bookstore error logging. It has following columns like process ID, process name, start time, error code, and error message. So in process ID, we will capture the process ID that has been filled, the name of the process, start time basically at which time it got triggered, the HTTP error code that can be 400, 500 for example, and error message like what was the exactly error that happened with that process ID. So this we will try to log it in this table. So let's first create a dash connector and on top of that we will create a app connection. So if you if you have missed the previous video like how to create a dash connector and app connector for a Oracle table, so you can have a look into previous video. So there is a link provided at the description section to see how to create the connections and as well as create queries for the same. So let's see. Here I have created already dash and app connector for error logging table. If you have missed on this part like how to create a dash and app connector to connect with Oracle tables, please refer to the previous video. In the description section, I have given link to it. Please follow it. So here I have given the JDBC driver connection URL, username and password details. In the actions tab, I have declared the following input fields like process ID, process name, start time, HTTP error code and error message. In the SQL binding, I have defined the insert query. If I click on this, you can see this insert query. I will be passing this input fields as a parameter to this insert query. Now if you click on the test, it will create a record on it and I have published it. Now going to the app dash connector. So once the dash connector is successful, I have created an app connector on top of it. Similar like which we learnt in the previous chapter. So we have given only JDBC driver connection URL, username and password details. So test it and publish it. When you test it, it should pass and then click on the publish. Now let's go to the process. Let's write the logic for it. So this is the existing process where we are passing ISBN value as the input to this process. Here we get the API details like book details from that API, and if it is successful, then we are inserting that record into our bookstore table in Oracle and also assigning values to the output fields so that we get a response when the request is successful. Now, how to do the error handling? So, if you go to this service section and if you go to the fault handling, If you click on this catch false, so another flow arrives over here. So basically we can customize the error handling part over here. So we have to achieve two objectives. One is the error logging and as well as second is the retry mechanism. So let's create a temporary field to catch the number of counts for the retry. So go to the temp fields, click on plus sign. I will name it as temp retry counter. Make it as an integer. Let's initialize the value first. Whenever there is a new run for this process, it will initialize with the value as 1. So click on this plus sign, click on this temp retry counter, keep it as a content and give the value as 1. Now here in the SC get book details, let's fetch another assignment task over here. Now every time we catch the fault, we will increment this retry counter by 1. So click on this, click click this temp retry counter, use the formula. So we need to increase it by 1 every time. So what we are gonna do is like temp retry counter plus 1. Now add a decision step over here. Let's cut the flow by adding first end task. Let's make it 0 over here first because we are retrying for only 2 times, right? So during the first run, it will make it as 1, the value. And in the decision task, we will perform this retry until the value for the retry is equal to is less than 2. So click on this temp retry counter. So here in the decision task, we have two paths, path 1 and path 2. So here you can set the condition. So whenever it will be greater than 2, we will end this loop. Otherwise, we will continue. So let's add a wait task over and click on and replace it with a jump task. So what this jump task does, it will take you back to the uh, service where you want to run it again. So click on this SC get books details. So what happens? So sorry, here it should be error logging, right? Because we want only in the case when we have made the two retries, we will do the error logging part. So what we'll do, we'll just move this wait task to this otherwise field and this jump task over here. And let's add end over here. In the wait task, we will define like we will keep it for 5 seconds. In the in this drop down menu, select seconds and make it as a 5 seconds. So during every retry, we will wait for first 5 seconds and then we will loop it through this API and again have a retry on this API service. In this flow, we will do the error logging. So click on the service. Let's call this connection where we are trying to connect to this error logging table. Click on the connections. So this is one app dash error logging. I will select it. So prior to that, we need to create one temporary field to fetch the process ID. Click on the temp field. Click on the plus sign. Temp ID. Keep it as a text. Now here we will have an assignment task. Take temp process ID, click on it. Click on formula. So if you go to this fx, go to the functions, go to miscellaneous. Here we have a utility function where we can get the process ID. Click on OK. And now in the service, we will go and try to assign values to each of it. So we have following input fields to be declared. So like if you go to the service, let's select the action. I forgot to select the action. Click it on insert error rows, error log. Now we need to map all these input fields like process ID, process name, start time, HTTP error code and error message. Now go to this input field section. Click on plus sign. For in process ID, let's select the field, make it as temp process ID. The value from this will be assigned to this process ID. For process name, you can give hard coded value, but if you want to dynamically get this exact process name value, go to the formula, click on this fx, go to the functions, click on the miscellaneous, click on this get asset name. This will help you to get the name of the process. To get the time when it ran, click on the formula, click on this fx again, go to the functions, again go to the miscellaneous, click on this get instance start time. To get this HTTP error code, so whenever the service fails, it creates three fields like HTTP code, description and reason. So we will use that fields. Click on the field option. So here in the fault info, we have these three fields, code, details and reason. So we will choose the code out of it. And for reason, we will get it from the reason. Now click on save. Now publish it. Now let's try running it through the postman. I'm purposefully passing the wrong ISBN to ensure like this request will fail. Click on send. So it didn't work out as expected. We receive a timeout error. So the chance is like we might be getting into the loop. The retry logic is not working fine. So let's try to debug it. So if you go to this assignment task again, here the value is getting assigned as null every time. Probably the formula that we applied didn't reflect it over here. So again go over here, click on formula, go to this fx and add it by 1. Click on OK. Now this is getting reflected over here. Save and publish it. So let's make the wait seconds as 2 so we can quickly process this request and then publish it again. Let's try running it again. Click on send. Here you can see the request is successful. You can see 200 OK. Let's see whether that record has been inserted into our error logging table or not. So we were able to capture this process ID which failed into our error logging table successfully. So you can see process ID, process name, start time, HTTP error code, and this is the message. Now here we are seeing only these curly brackets. So if we want the response, the error code over here. So we can do one thing, go to the process again. So instead of end, we will use the throw function. So this will throw the error code as a response. So if you go over here, you can map these fields. So this is the required field, mandatory field that needs to be passed as a code. Go to the fault info and click on this code. And for reason also you can click this, click on it, go to the fields and capture the reason field. Save and publish it. Let's try running it again. See, now here we are able to capture this reason code and details as well as a response. And as well as we have logged this new entry. I will refresh it. So this is the new entry. So let's see. We can take this process ID and go to the process console to check like what is the failure. So go to the application integration console. So let's try searching with this. Yes, here you can see we got this process ID. The status is faulted. You see the start time and end time over here. And if you click on this, we can see the flow where it has been faulted. Here we can see whether the retry mechanism was successful or not. So here you can see this has it has multiple attempts over this SC get book details. So that means it has been successful. So that has worked fine for us. So here if you click, you can get this fault details over here as well. This is the code reason that we have tried to capture it and store into our error log table. So that's it. If you like my videos, please do subscribe my channel and click on like. Thank you.